everybody. This is period two, where we have our guest interview. And today we have a real special guest from Islander history, looking back. I mean, the Islanders aren't the Islanders without this man, Mr. Andre Saint Laurent. How you doing, Andre? Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, hi. Nice to see you guys. It's fun to be able to talk about the past of our game because I enjoyed really on Long Island.
Well, you had a great career. A lot of it was here on the island, and you were a beloved member of the Islanders, just short of that dynasty. But you were a major part of how we got from, what they would call the hapless Islanders to a dynasty. There was that link in the middle, and you were a big part of that. But starting off, and you come from Rouyn-Noranda, Quebec, or that area, near Montreal. And that's a hotbed for hockey and NHL history. I mean, I was looking at some of the names: Dave Keon, Pitt Martin, J.P. Bordelot, Ray Jean-Houl, and even Ray's favorite, Pierre Turgeon, comes from there.
Dale Talon, Sylvain Turgeon, a whole bunch of guys come from there, yeah.
Right. So give us some insight. Let's start at the beginning. Give us some insight as far as growing up in such a well-known hockey town like that. Was it hockey all the time with you? Frozen ponds, frozen rivers, and before school, after school? What was it like?
Actually, I was born in the Rouyn-Noranda, but I moved to just outside Montreal when I was 3.5, 4 years old. And we're from a big family, Saint Laurent family. We had a golf tournament, golf reunion from people from Florida, from Texas. There was like 126 of us. So we're a big family. And my dad moved to Belleuil, where we live now. And all his brothers, they were from a big family. There were 10 kids. They all followed. When my dad was the oldest one in the family, so when he moved, everybody followed. So everybody moved from the Rwanda, and they all moved right outside Montreal. So that's how tight the family is. And so when I got here, my youngest brother was born. I was 5 years old. And my mother was in the hospital for a while back then. And so I went to my godfather's house, and he bought me my first pair of skates. And I was 5 years old. That's how it started, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Now, were you playing in some organized leagues right away, or was it just a lot of, river hockey, so to speak, out there?
No, we had organized hockey. I started playing Pee Wee, which was like a 10, 11, 12-year-old, when I was 6.5 years old. I started playing with them because I was beyond the ice all the time. I remember I don't know if you guys know, my uncle Dollard played with Chicago and the Canadiens.
Sure.
He won 5 Stanley Cups. And I remember I was a kid watching TV. He was on the ice with the Canadiens. I was 6 years old, and I told my dad, that's what I want to do when I grow up. That's what I want to do.
Well, that takes care of the question. I was going to say, what was the major influence in your life to get you started in hockey?
Well,
your uncle wins 5 Stanley Cups for the Canadiens. I think that's a given then.
Yeah.
So with such a big family, did you have siblings or cousins that were also kind of following the same route?
Oh, my uncle, my brothers, my father's brothers, they were all very good at hockey. One of my brothers played Major Junior. He's a little older than I am. And then he went to Clarkson University, played for the university in hockey. And my cousin Michel played for the St. Louis Billikens at the University of St. Louis. So my big thing is I went to university, but just to visit my cousin in St. Louis.
Close enough.
So growing up in that kind of area, and obviously a huge hockey environment, when you were playing hockey out there in Pee Wee and then working your way up, were there many people that you knew personally that were your friends at the time, or hockey peers that did make it to the NHL too? I mean, is there a couple of names you can throw at us?
The only one I can think of is my brother-in-law, Johnny Martin. He's a year older than I. We played Pee Wee, Bantam, Midget, Juvenile. We played all categories together. We used to win all the time. He's a year older, so he got drafted by the Atlanta Flames. And I played an exhibition game against him my first year when I came with the Islanders in Peterborough. He was with the Flames. He played exhibition games with the Flames, but didn't get to play in the NHL in the regular season. Then he played in the American Hockey League and then the East Coast League. No, not the East Coast, the International League. But I mean, everybody in the family, my brothers played, all my cousins, they all played, everybody played. And funny fact, back then when we were still kids, my Uncle Dollard lived around the corner from us, 2-minute walk, and we had an outside rink. And on the same street as we lived was Gump Worsley, who played with the Canadians.
Wow.
And so my uncle would come out and skate with us, and Gump would come into the nets. And Gump would only have his hockey stick and nothing else, just a stick. And he said, "You guys can slap the puck, whatever you want, just shoot it. Don't worry about me." And he stopped the puck with his stick. Well, he might have had a glove on, I'm not sure, but he stopped the puck with his stick most of the time. We were kids, and we were so happy just to be on the ice with those guys.
Wow. That's amazing.
Probably
So
stopped it with his face too, right? He was one of the guys that didn't wear masks, at least in the beginning.
Yeah, till the end when he was in Minnesota. At the end, he wore a mask.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So then you wind up making it when you make it into junior. Were you in the Ontario League first?
Yes.
With the junior Canadians.
Yes, they were in the Ontario League back then. Yes.
And I was looking, and you were a pretty effective hockey player. I mean, you're pretty much like what we saw up here when you made it to the Islanders eventually. I mean, 40 points in 60 games, 52 points in 63 games. You know, like with the junior Canadians. Were you kind of fine tuning any particular way that you wanted to play the game back then, or were you just playing the only way you knew how to play?
Yeah, pretty much. I just played the way I played. I knew I had to be, offensively went very well my last year, but I mean, I tried to be a complete player. You know, you have to be able to play on both sides. When you hate losing, you just don't want to score goals. You want to make sure you win the game, you know. So
right.
I worked as much as I could both ways of the ice, and, you know, I got lucky. I got drafted by the Islanders, and it was just their second year, so they were one of the bad teams, and I got the chance to make the team. And a funny story is that Al Arbor played with my Uncle Dollard in Chicago. And
They won a cup together there?
They won the cup together, and Al is one of my cousin's godfather.
Oh, wow.
Really? You know, I found out a little later on. But,
oh, wow. Didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Yeah. I thought it was very interesting. Like I remember you when you played here. You were definitely a great two-way center. You were on that major checking line. You could play it both ways. You could score, you could check, and you could hit people. You weren't the biggest guy out there, 5'10", 180, 185, but you did not shy away from contact. And I was looking at your junior stats, and you played 60 games that one year and 63 the next year. And you had over 100 penalty minutes in each of those two seasons. And then you had over 200 when you were with the QMJHL.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that happened there is that we used to play in the Ontario Hockey League. And when we got transferred back to the QHL, Quebec Major Junior, it was always said that the Ontario League was better in those days. It was always said. And so when we came back, all the teams we played against, they wanted to show us that we weren't better than them. So they used to try and get under our skin and try and fight us all the time. So I didn't have much choice.
Right.
I had to make sure, just, okay, you got to stick up for yourself here, stick up for your buddies, and show them, you're ready to play.
Right. And that 1 year in the Q where you had a 100-point season in 64 games.
Yeah.
So you were very effective, both, on the offensive, defensive, and the penalty minute categories as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's what gave me the chance to get drafted. Well, back then, I mean, I was the first choice in the fourth round, but I was 49th.
Right.
Now there's so many teams. I mean, wow.
Like a lot of guys in the early mid-'70s, you get drafted not only by the Islanders in the NHL, but then Vancouver drafts you in the
Yep.
WHA, right? So
Yep.
I always wanted to ask because I haven't had a chance, but what was it like trying to make up your mind back then? Because obviously the NHL was established, but the Islanders were brand new and they were horrible. Um, and there was always the lure of the new league and a lot of money they were throwing around, at least to their big stars. And so, what was going through your mind? Was there ever a consideration of going to the WHA?
Not at all. Not a
Really?
chance. No, no, for me, no. For me, like I said, I watched my uncle play in the NHL, and I knew that was the best league in the world. And no, 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 I was going to the Islanders. My uncle was actually, Dollard was my agent. And he might have talked to Vancouver a little bit. I don't even know. But the money was pretty similar. And to me, the choice was easy. I wanted to go play in the NHL.
So your first year with the Islanders, 73-74 was their second season. It was a better season than their first one, and Al Arbor was there, and kind of you had improvements as far as goals against and goals for, and your record was a little better, but you was still a losing team.
Uh-huh.
I think you're in a good position to give people out there an idea of what it was like that year when you were in 73-74 and then 74-75 when everything just started to click and you made it to the semifinals that year against Philadelphia.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
Well, the first year I was sent to Fort Worth in the Central League for 2 or 3 months or whatever. And I was really upset because I had a really good camp. I was one of the good players in camp, and they set me down. Now I understand a little more why. Because now, if you draft a young kid who's good, and you got some players, you got to trade them. You got to trade some players. I didn't know that at the time. I was really upset. They sent me down. I had a great camp, and I was thinking, I was better than a lot of these guys in training camp. Why am I going down? You know, but that's the way it was. And I talked to Laurent Henning at the 50th anniversary. He says, Andre, I remember when they sent you down. We had played the night before in Buffalo, and I scored a hat trick in the in training camp, and they sent me down the next day. He told me that, and I went, "Wow, you got a good memory. I don't remember scoring a hat trick that day." And I got lucky enough to play with some good players there, man. And one of the good ones was Chico Resch. Started with Chico there, and then when we came up the next year, we were together. So you know, and I enjoyed Texas. It was very nice.
You know what? What I noticed also when you look back at Islander history, there was always a very strong identity with the Islanders of that era of Western Canadian players on that club. Right?
Yeah.
You had a lot of Western Canadians clubs, Gillies, Trottier, Lewis, Jerry Hart, all those guys, Chico himself. And by the time 74-75 rolled around and you started to hit your stride, there was a real distinct French Canadian influence as well with yourself, Juan, Parise. How was that dichotomy with the team? Everybody got along, one happy family, no separation and all that?
No. Because JP and Jude were just really, really a big step in the Islanders organization. We had a good young core and everything, but when we got JP and Jude, that's when we turned it on, really. That's when we made that first year of the playoffs. JP came in and he said, "You guys don't know how good this team is. You guys don't know. You guys got a good team." So, and it was fantastic because the first year we made the playoffs, we had tied with the Rangers with 88 points, I think. And they had the home advantage because I think they had more wins or whatever. And we won the first game and lost the second at home 5-0, I remember well. And all the New York papers were like, okay, the Rangers are going to win. It's all over, and this and that. And then JP scored with 11 seconds in overtime in Madison Square Garden. I remember looking up, and nobody was clapping. Nobody was cheering. Everybody was so disappointed. And also, I didn't even see the goal. I was tying my shoelace, and they started screaming on the bench. They started screaming on the bench. I said, "What? What?" He said, "They just scored in 11 seconds." And I said, "What? What? Are you kidding me?" So
And
anyway,
that sucks because they didn't even come up with video of that for like 45 years either. They found it by accident. I think Al Troutman put it on TV. He said, "Yeah, we found this on some camera." So you
yeah,
probably
well,
got.
we had a whole bunch of good guys, though, a whole bunch of guys that hung together. And, on defense, Bert Marshall had so much experience.
Love
We
Burt
called him the
Marshall.
cat. We called him the cat. He'd take the puck away from the guys. And Davey Lewis, Jerry Hart, Denny, John, they used to block shots all the time. I mean, they blocked so many shots. I mean, I don't know how they got through all those games, really.
And they knew how to clear the front of the net too. They were
Yeah,
fearless. But
yeah.
we lose our minds sometimes when we watch hockey and the guys just aren't engaging in front of the net to move
Uh-huh.
guys out of the way.
Yeah,
We
it's a
can't.
different, yeah, they give more penalties now. So you got to be careful the way you play the game now.
Yeah, it's
Remember,
true.
also the big piece that came was Brian Trottier. When Brian
Oh.
came, I mean, Denny's fantastic and he's a superstar, but Brian in the center changed the game for us. And I was a little upset about that too, because when he came the year we played the Rangers and we beat them, Brian was there in practice and he was in my spot. And I went, why are we playing these playoffs, or is Brian playing?
Oh,
Swear to
wasn't it
God.
true? He was following the team around, but they didn't play him, right?
No, he was just there for a little while. I didn't follow
Yeah.
around too much. He was there for a little while before, and then the next year when when he came for real, then I saw him in training camp, and I went, oh, okay, now I know why. Now I know why he was in my spot there.
Yeah, right. But hey, when that happened, a real cool thing developed, though, right? Isn't that when you started playing, or was it the year before? But wasn't that when you started playing with Bobby Nystrom and Gary Howitt?
No, I pretty much started with Bobby and Gary from the start.
Oh, okay.
The
Because
first,
you
as soon as
guys,
I came in, I was with Howie and Bobby. Yeah.
we love that line. You guys were your line was never boring. You guys knew how to take it to the other team real good, real good.
Well, we might have had a little bit less talent, but we wanted to win so much. Gary was just tremendous. I mean, you saw him. I mean, he would take on anybody and everybody, and it didn't matter. And so did Bobby. And
Right.
I was lucky. I was playing these two guys. We were really good forecheckers, And then he told me sometimes, he says, Andre, it's so much fun playing with you guys. The other team never came out of their zone. You're just running all over the place and trying to.
That's what I remember. Yeah, I remember you guys being tenacious forecheckers, but also good two-way, because all three of you guys could score as well as hit and play that forechecking game. But one question I was going to ask is, how did it feel going into that next season? I mean, obviously you had been there a little bit before that 74-75 season when the Islanders were really nobody. Really, I mean, look, what was it? Only their third season in the league. So how did you guys feel going into that next season after beating the Rangers? Did you feel like you kind of had arrived, that you had a little bit more wind under your sails?
Well, that would be the fourth season of the team, because the second season I was there and we didn't make the playoffs. The third season we did.
Right.
And after we beat the Rangers, I mean, it was tremendous. We played Pittsburgh. We lost the first three, and we just kept believing and working. And Al said, guys, if you guys don't think we can win, you can leave right away.
I love that.
Just don't come in the room, And we all went, no, we want to win. We want to win, And then we won the next four. And then we did the same thing against Philly in the other series. We lost the first three and won the next three, and then lost in the seventh. But I mean, we beat Buffalo all year that year. If we beat Philadelphia, they beat Buffalo in the playoffs. I think we would have won that year. But unfortunately, we lost to the Flyers.
Whose idea was it to bring the flowers out to Kate Smith? Was that Eddie Westfall's idea? Because that's probably one of the first things I remember as an Islander fan, being a little kid growing up. I thought it was the coolest friggin' thing anybody ever did in sports, man. Well, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, from what I remember, every time she sang at home, they always won.
Yeah.
So Eddie was just trying to break the spell. He said, we're going to do something different here. We're going to try and break that spell, because it was the last game and we had to win it. you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he gave her the flowers. We all went and shook her hand, but unfortunately, we lost the game.
What I had the good fortune of being with 18 back in the day, like probably early 90s, and I was in a Islander alumni fantasy camp, and Eddie was there, and afterwards we were hanging out at one of the locals, and we were having a couple of beers, and I asked him about that, and the one thing he said, which I never knew, and I don't know if anybody really knows, so I'm glad you brought that up, is he said Jerry Hart was a bit of a ladies' man. Girls loved him. Somebody sent him the flowers,
Oh,
and and he went up to him. He said, "Hey, Hardy, did these mean anything to you?" And he was like, "No, why? What do you want them?" He said, "Yeah, I want to give them to Kate Smith." It was his
okay.
idea, definitely, but somebody sent them to Jerry to the
Oh,
locker room,
okay.
and then years later, he mentioned years later, maybe before um, Kate Smith passed away, somehow they crossed paths. And she said, and maybe they're like begonias or petunias or something. They weren't even roses. There was something like that. And she said, "How did you know they were my favorite flowers?"
Oh, really?
Yes.
She
On
said
top
that
of
to
that,
She said that to
which
18.
I thought was hysterical.
Oh, she said that to 18 or Hardy?
Yeah, to 18.
18. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I'm
Hey,
lucky. I get to see the guys a little bit because Joey McMahon, you know Joey McMahon? He worked with the Islanders for a long time.
yeah, yeah. It was a
Good
trainer, right?
training guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the equipment and stuff like that. And he has a charity golf tournament for his family every year that we go to in a hop on because his mother passed away from a disease, and so did his son. So
Oh,
I'm
geez.
lucky that I got invited one day. Jude called me and he said, "Andre, are you going to the golf tournament?" I said, "What golf tournament?" He said, "Well, Joey McMahon has a golf tournament." I said, "I haven't been invited yet." So he said, "I'll tell him to call you." And so he called me, which I was happy about because I got to see Jude again, which I hadn't seen in 40 years or 30 years or whatever, and got to see a lot of the guys. 18 was there, Bobby Nye. Um, I saw Howie a few times and Billy Harris and quite a few guys. So that was a lot of fun.
You know,
Nice to see the guys.
oh, of course.
So,
After all those
so the
years, those bonds
alumni,
never break.
so the alumni association seems to be a lot more active
Yes.
now in the last few years, right? With
Yes.
The new ownership. So I guess you've been seeing pretty much most of those guys through that over the last few years.
Yeah, over the last few years, yes. There was one year I've gone for the last maybe 4 years, but one year I had to skip. I wasn't feeling very good. But it's nice because I mean, we get to meet all the younger guys. Pierre Turgeon, who comes from the Randa, and Benoit Hogg, and a whole bunch. John Tonelli, that I played against John, but never played with him.
Mhm.
And at the 50th anniversary, they had guys from everywhere. They invited everybody. They invited the Swedes were there. Stefan Persson, Anders Kaller, and I played in Sweden, so I learned a little bit of Swedish. So I saw Anders come in, and he had white hair, and I'm looking, I think that's Anders Kaller. So I walked up and I started talking to him in Swedish. He looks at me and he said, "Who are you?" I said, "Andre, you speak Swedish." I said, "I played in Sweden for a couple of years, so I learned some Swedish." So I
You
had
got
fun
to eat,
with
right? You
I
got to
had
learn.
fun with him and Stefan Persson and their wives. I spoke Swedish with them. They were just laughing at me quite a bit. But anyways, we had a lot of fun.
When you wind up those next couple of years, you wind up playing the Canadians of all teams in the middle of their dynasty, two semifinals in a row. You gave them a run for their money too. Now, what
Yep.
was that like for you personally? I mean, obviously you're an Islander, you're established, you went through what you went through already, but now you're pretty much going home to play the team that's like on the separate from everybody else on a hill there, and
Yeah.
now you have to jump in there as an opponent. What was going through you, personally and emotionally?
Well, for me, it was just really enjoyable because a whole bunch of I must have had 40 people at the game there. My friends, my family, and it was just a lot of fun. And I was used to that ice. I was used to that building because I played 3 years junior there. So I knew all the kinks in the boards, and and it was so much fun just being there, just playing against the Canadians was so exciting, and we're the only team who beat them that year. They lost 2 games in the playoffs that year against us. They didn't lose any other games.
Wow.
And the next year, they did even better. That's when I got traded to Detroit. They lost 1 game in the playoffs. It was against Detroit when I was there. So they lost 3 games in 2 separate years in the playoffs. I mean, they were just that good. They were just that good till the Islanders started growing and growing.
So you wind up getting through all that, and we touched on it before when you were playing with Howie and Bobby Nye. And just fast forwarding to just a few years ago, we had something that was called the identity line here. The fans named it. It was Cal Clutterbuck, Matt Martin, and Casey Cizikas.
Yeah.
And they were called the identity line because I guess they pretty much embodied the Islander spirit because they were very physical. They would drop the gloves if they had to, but they also had a knack for scoring those clutch goals. So then I always rewind back and I go, the original identity line was Andre Saint-Laurent, Gary Howitt, and Bob Nystrom. And like you could talk about Bossi Trotcha and Gillies and all that stuff. It's been talked about, and for good reason. I said, but sometimes real good lines, real effective lines, consequential lines, they slip through the cracks sometimes. So I'd like to just hear your memories from being on that line for a few years here, and how you prepared for a game, how your relationship with each other were, the way some of the stuff you used to talk about in the room, on the ice. What was that like for Andre Saint-Laurent to be part of that well-established line?
Well, those guys, they were so competitive. I don't know if you've ever talked to Bobby.
Yes, I have.
Yes, and Bobby, they were drafted the year before me. And Bobby told me that Gary would come in with boxing gloves and tell Bobby, okay, we got a box, we got to fight, got to get ready for the game, we got a box, we got to fight. And I said, really? I was like, okay. Then I got to play with them, but they were so, physical and feisty and full of will. It was just amazing. I'd come back to the bench, and sometimes Al told me, how do you sit between those guys? They would be yelling at each other and everything, and I'll say, sit between them. Sit between those 2 guys. They were real competitors, let's put it that way. And they wanted to win badly, and if ever we did something wrong, it'd come out. We'd know about it, But they're tremendous guys. I saw Howie a few times in the last Joey's tournaments or the golf tournament, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And it was nice to see him. And Bobby, I've seen Bobby there a few times also. So it's nice to see the guys, when you haven't seen them for 35, 40 years. When I got traded from Michel Bergeron, we had a practice in the morning, and we were playing the night or leaving, whatever, that night. And I got a tap, and Von Waski says, Andre, Bill Torrey wants to see you. We're dressing for practice. I went, oh, this is not good. So I went up, and they told me, well, we've traded you to Detroit, and, we know, well, he said that Detroit wants you, and they're going to play you, and, so, good luck, and then he gave me the phone. Ted Lindsay was on the phone. And Ted Lindsay told me, he says, Andre, we're glad to have you. And I know you're going to help the team, but I got one thing for you. You're playing tonight in Detroit. I went, playing tonight in Detroit? I'm in the dressing room here on Long Island. So I got to go home, get some stuff, get on a plane and go. And the tough thing for me is that I didn't really get a chance to say goodbye to the guys, because I came in and they're like kind of going on the ice and said, guys, I'm sorry. I got to go. I just got traded. That was very emotional. It was very emotional for me.
I could see it. I can still see it. So there was no handwriting on the wall. You were completely shocked from that, huh?
Oh, I didn't know at all.
Yeah, there was nothing leading up to that.
No clue, no.
I remember it and remember being very surprised by it and
Yeah.
mentioning how the way you were talking about how Howard and Nystrom were. I always felt you were the same type of guy. Maybe you didn't drop the glove quite as much as they did, but you were
Yeah.
still that same type of guy. Really a really good fit for that line. And when they traded you for Michel Bergeron of all guys, who was more like I guess a projected pure goal scorer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was rookie of the year, I think the year before, right? To score like 30 goals.
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of weird that trade was made. Although over the years, I mean, me and Steve have gone over this all the time. Like, why the hell did they trade Laurent for Bergeron? Bergeron didn't even stick around for like 25 games or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like what was the deal because he never really was quite a fit with the Islanders. And if they were making room, let's say, for like a Trache or other guys, a Bossy coming up, behind you, then why go out and try to get a goal scorer or a projected goal scorer like Bergeron? Never really did much after that.
Yeah.
I always found it kind of a strange deal. I was always curious what your take was on that.
Well, for me, thinking about it now, I think probably they were unsure about Bossy because he had never played before. He hadn't played a game in the NHL yet. And Bergeron had scored 30 goals. So they were looking for a goal scorer for Brian Trache, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he didn't work out, and then the boss just took off on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
because Bergeron didn't do anything in Washington either.
No,
That's right, he went to
Later on.
Washington.
Yeah. No, but who can come into see the GM and say, well, I'm going to score 50 goals this year. And he's 18 years, 20 years old or whatever. Well, back in those days, we were drafted when we were 20, not 18.
Right.
Yeah.
So the guys were a little more, mature. It's tough for the young players now that are 18. It's easier for the college players. They can play till they're 21, 22, 23. But the young guy that's drafted at 18 now, wow, it's tough for him to make it right away. Even if you're a first rounder, it's not that obvious.
No, of
Not
course.
that obvious. No.
So even after you traded him, so we're at this point now, we're talking about it. You get traded to Detroit, and then later on you wind up after that with the Kings, and you become significantly involved in a little bit of Islander history along the way, where they trade your teammate Butch Goring for your two old teammates, Billy Harris and Dave Lewis, who come to the Kings.
Yep.
And then later on, you wind up playing them in the first round of the playoffs that year. But let's go back to the trade itself. What do you remember about Butchie getting traded over here? And then how was it when you received Louis and Harry?
Well, I knew Louis was a great defenseman. Not a spectacular player, but a great defenseman. He could do steady defenseman, and Harry. Well, Harry could play. He could kill penalties. He could score goals. He could play. So he lost Butchie, who was a great player. Butchie was a great player. But we got two guys back, and I thought, well, okay, the deal's okay for us, But it was probably a real it was a great move for the Islanders. They needed that other centerman there to do the job. So, but it was always fun to see new guys come in that I knew, like Louis and Harry, and it was fun.
Were they taking that deal in stride, or were they kind of devastated? Or I always wondered how they handled that. It was tough. When we first heard about the deal, we were kind of like, yeah, we know Butchie. We heard of him, and we didn't see much of him, being on the West Coast.
That's it.
Those two guys were around since the beginning, so it was kind of like
they were core players, man. It was extremely,
Yep.
So how was it when they came over to play with it?
The thing also is about Louis is that they just got Ken Morrow. They didn't trade Louis for nothing there. If Ken Morrow's not there, Dave Lewis is not traded. They just got the guy from the Olympics. He's a big defenseman. He's good defensively, and so they can add him in and take Louis out and add a good centerman. So That's hockey. That's the way it goes sometimes.
Right.
That's
So they
what.
were all
That,
good when it came to you. They were all good with
oh
it. And
yeah, oh yeah, they were good. Man.
professional. They're real professionals.
Yeah, of course, they played well, and they got along good with everybody. I mean, I don't know of too many hockey players, and through my career that didn't get along with his teammates. Really, I mean, you don't see guys going a little too crazy or a little too wild or a little too extravagant in the hockey world. It doesn't really happen that much, you know.
So now you fast forward a little bit and you wind up meeting the Islanders in the playoffs that year
Yeah,
before they're on their way to that 4-year, 5-year run, really.
yeah.
And what were your thoughts coming into that series with Louis, with Harry, with you, and with these guys who you're familiar with coming in? You almost knocked them for a loop there in that short series, and then they pulled it out. Speaking of Ken Morrow with that overtime goal, but yeah, what was that? What was it like for you and those guys going into that series?
I think you're talking about Pittsburgh.
No, that was later, but that
Okay.
first 79-80.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
First
And
round.
yeah.
first round
Yeah.
of the playoffs,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
played
first
down.
round. Yeah, you're right there. Yeah. It was just so much fun to play against my old teammates. Like me, Louis, and Harry. Oh, we looked at each other and said, "Okay, let's do it. Let's beat these guys." Obviously, everybody else on the team wanted to beat them, but when you play against your old team, you always want to show, listen,
Yeah,
I can still play the game. So it was a lot of fun, but obviously they had such a great team. We didn't have much of a chance there.
and then you mentioned Pittsburgh again. Andre Saint Laurent figuring into Islander history a little bit along the way.
Oh man, that was close, really.
What a
You guys
series
saw
that
those
was.
games.
You talk about coming from behind, right? After getting kicked around a little bit, and
Yeah.
you almost knocked off the champs that year in the first round.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us about that.
On a bad bounce too. If you saw the last game, we were up in I don't remember who dumped the puck in Randy Carlisle's corner, and he just went to pick it. It just jumped over his stick, went straight on John Tonelli's stick, and boom, he just hit it and went in the net. We were up 2-1, I think, or 3-2, 2-1, I think, and the game was over. There wasn't much time left.
Right?
They tied it up, and then they won they won later on. Bossy.
Tonelli has scored the overtime too.
Did Tonelli score both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, there you
He
go.
scored the tying one, right? And then he
And he scored the winner.
Yeah, well, he was hard work. What the heck,
Oh yeah.
But we had a great playoff that year. I mean, we're the only one who came close to beating them in that playoffs.
Absolutely.
They were just as good as the Canadians were like the 3, 4, 5 years before that. They would beat everybody. They were just a tremendous team.
Well, you put a scare into them, and you put a scare into us too as fans. I was watching that game, and I just couldn't. I couldn't believe we were that close. And I think it was Nystrom who was in an interview, and I think he was in the penalty box or something. And the penalty guy, the official was sitting with him and going, "Geez, guys, I can't believe it's over. I thought you guys were going to do it again."
Yeah.
And he said, "It's not over yet. Not with this
It's
group."
not over. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you say, his competitiveness was like, I don't even want to hear that.
That's right. That's it. That's the way Bobby was. I know. Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember hearing that, and he saying that. Yeah. He told the guy, "It's not over yet." Well, that's it. That's a winner's way of looking at it. It's never
That's how
over.
you win. Yeah, that's how you win 4
It's
cups in a
never
row,
over.
right?
It's never over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when they won their first one, I mean, I had so many friends on the team. I was so happy they beat the Flyers. And Bobby scored the overtime goal. I was like,
Perfect.
I was cheering for them in those playoffs. I'll tell you.
And I remember even before, like during like the time that in the '70s when you were on a team, there was always the Rangers, and whatever. But I always remember the Flyers that was the big rivalry for years.
Oh yeah,
especially since the '75 series. And everybody hated them. I mean, if you weren't a Fly fan, you didn't really like the Flyers.
No, most teams didn't like the way they played and the way they tried to intimidate. We got lucky enough that we had Bobby and we had Clarkie, and then they kind of slowed down their intimidation tactics because they knew they might get well, I don't want to say the word, but kicked out of them.
You can say it. It's all right.
I can tell you another funny story coming back from that hockey thing I was at with some Islanders and back in like 90 or 91, and I was coming out of the rink with Clarky, and we're walking to our cars, and there's these two guys with a cooler full of beers hanging out outside their trunk, and they're like, "Hey, Clarky, what's going on?" And he's like, "How you doing, guys? Come on over. Let's have a beer." So he tells me, he goes, "Come on, let's go." So we go walking over there. We hang out, pop open a
That's
beer.
Clarky. That's
Yeah.
And then he said the guys were they were from Philadelphia,
okay.
and they were Islander fans, and they told some great stories about what they had to go through in the 70s and 80s being Islander fans that lived in Philadelphia. And I think Clarky was very impressed, pretty much saying, "Boy, you guys would probably be about the bravest guys I've ever met."
Yeah, there's a guy. He was such a wonderful person, Clarky. Really saddened that he passed away so soon. He was a nice guy, and I wanted to see him at Joey's tournament for like 3-4 years, and he was never available. Never saw him there. And then I thought, well, I'm going to see him one of these days, but didn't get to see him.
Yeah, that was a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad to see. If you look back now, just the amount of guys that were on that team over the years. When when you played and on the dynasty teams that aren't around anymore, it's kind of hard to believe. But
yeah, they weren't that old. Bossy, I think, died at 67 or 66, and Clarky, 67.
Yeah.
Potsy was a little older, maybe 73, 74, whatever. JP, well, he passed away a little while, but they all died of cancer. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
sad.
Are you keep in touch with, let's say, guys like Jules Drouin or any of those guys from back then?
Well, a little bit on Facebook and stuff, and I text him once in a while. But I was real happy to see him at the 50th anniversary. He was there. I called him. I said, "Drew, you haven't come to the golf tournament. I want to see you at the 50th anniversary."
Yeah, that's great.
He came up, but I'm not sure that he was in real great health, though.
It's good to see you guys from that era, right, being welcomed back, because for years it was almost like your era was forgotten about. You know what I mean? And it meant so much to us growing up. Steve and I, obviously, growing up as kids, watching, you guys play, and like Steve was saying earlier, ushering in, the championship teams. We lived and died with you guys. Loved you guys. Andre, you were one of my favorite players growing up, man.
Thank you.
It's so nice that the Islanders ownership kind of really recognized that and brought you guys back. And I hope to keep seeing you guys, as much as possible over the next few years.
Since the new
It means
group,
a lot.
Since the new group, they invited us back quite a bit. So, which is nice. Montreal is very, very good at that. The Canadians have always had well-organized alumni and stuff, and it's nice to see that the Islanders finally have gotten to get older players and past players involved. And the funny thing about the 50th anniversary, they invited everybody. There was a French-Canadian guy there. I heard him speaking French. I went to talk to him. I said, "Hey, what's your name?" "I'm Andre." "Oh, yeah." He says, "I remember your name." I said, "When did you play?" "Oh," I said, "I didn't play. I came to training camp. I had one exhibition game. They invited him to the 50th anniversary. That's amazing.
That is awesome.
Amazing. That's amazing.
That's
When he told me
Yes.
that, I went, wow.
Yeah.
That's really recognition for everybody that came through there. Even if they didn't play, they were there during training camp and things. And I was amazed. I went, wow, what class act,
Yes. Oh, I love hearing that, because for so long after the Cups, it just seemed like ownership, and it didn't matter who was there. I mean, Charles Wong did a little bit towards the end there, but they were just afraid, I think, to embrace the tradition that was built here by you guys, and then taken into the stratosphere by those 4 cups and 5
Yeah.
5 finals appearances. I mean, if you think about it, outside of the 77-78 team that lost in Game 7 overtime to Maple Leafs in the quarters,
Yep.
right? They were in the semifinals 3 times, and then in the finals 5 times.
Yeah.
In a 10-year period. It's
Yeah.
just nobody does that.
And how many great players came through, right? Like maybe not had stuck with them. Another one like yourself didn't stick with them when they went into the cup years. But so many great players that came through that stuck with fans like us, that we really appreciated, and it was so good. I mean, Dave Fortier was there, right? He was there at the 50th, right? I love that guy. He was only there for like 2
He's
seasons.
a real nice guy.
And like a lot of people don't even remember him. I love that guy, and it was
he
great to see him there.
He was tough as nails too. Let me tell
He
you.
was. That's why I loved him, man. He used to go with anybody.
Wow. Oh no, Dave was a real good teammate, and it was nice to see. That's what I'm saying. It was so much fun to get invited to see all those guys that you hadn't seen for 35 years, 40 years.
Crazy.
It's amazing, and they were all in pretty good shape too.
So tell us about starting winding down your career there. You, I would say you wound up playing till 85, was it? And then you made like a return trip to Detroit. And was that your last year in the NHL?
That was 83, 84. I was in Pittsburgh. The year we just about eliminated the Islanders, and the next year they put me on waivers. And was it the next year? What year is that series against Pittsburgh? Islanders, Pittsburgh?
That was 82, 83.
Okay.
No, 81. No, 82, 83.
82, 83. Yeah, so the next year, the Pittsburgh put me on waivers, and I went to Detroit. And I was doing pretty well in Detroit, but I mean, I don't know. They just wanted younger players, whatever. So I got sent to the American League and had a real good year there. And Bill Dineen was the coach there.
Who's that?
Bill Dineen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Gordon Dineen's father.
Gordon Dineen's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was with Hartford for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was coaching there. And I got there in December something. And I finished first scorer on the team, and I had, I was doing real good. He says, Andre, I'm going to call him up. You got to go back there. There's no way I know you can play there. And I had a little something with the coach over there back then. Anyways. I don't want to talk about it too much, but anyways. All I can say is Brad Park was there, and Brad was trying to help the young defenseman. The coach says, hey, Brad, don't talk to them. I'm coaching this team.
Oh.
Really. So.
Can't blame me there.
Funny, he was like insecure. So we had a little something, and I went to the American League. But then I was there for, December till the end of the season, and they wanted to sign me again. But I said, no, I'm not doing 80 games on a bus here. No. That's why I went to Europe. I played 32 games, and everything was close. In the American League, they're so far away, the teams, it's crazy. You're on the bus for 12 hours or, it's crazy. So, and it was fun. It was great. I went to Sweden, learned Swedish, met a lot of nice people. Then I went to France, had a great time.
Must have fit right in there like a glove, right?
Oh yeah, they made me repeat a lot of words because they didn't understand my accent. They didn't understand.
I was going to say the Quebec French and the French sometimes doesn't always meet up.
I guess it's kind of like being from New York and then going to Alabama and you're both speaking English, but nobody else.
No, I'll explain to you the difference. The difference is the same between the French here and the French in France as the English in the U.S. and the English in England.
Okay.
So sometimes people from England will say something, you go, what? What's he saying?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. That's
Makes
what
sense.
the difference is similar. Yeah.
Well, you had a long career considering the European stop that you had.
Yeah.
I believe your last year was, I think, 2000 or something. You must have been close to 50 years old.
89, yeah. I was 30, whatever. But last year I coached. I played one game
Oh, okay.
because we had too many injuries. In France, you didn't have too many players. So this one game, I practiced with them all the time. I had my equipment on. I skated with them all the time. And this one game, we were missing too many players. So I said, okay, I'll throw the gear on. And it was funny because the guy that was coaching the other team was a guy from Russia. And I had a real good game. and the guy came up to me and says, you played somewhere before. Where'd you play before?
This little league called the NHL.
He said,
somewhere across the sea
you
somewhere.
must have played somewhere before. You're playing pretty good, eh? By then, I had no more back. I couldn't skate too much, but, it was okay. I was in good shape, so.
You get a chance to get on the skates anymore, or you're just done with that?
I did for a long time. I played with, I'll tell you a funny story. Here we go. When I came back, I was, garage league or whatever you want to call them, old timers leagues. And a lot of my friends would say, Andre, we have a tournament in this place. Come and play with us, And I go, okay, I'll go play with you guys. And I played in a couple of tournaments, and I was playing center. And one of the games, I was playing center, and never got the puck. After the first period, I said, does anybody want to play center? Anyway, I'll play defense. I'll give you the puck. I guarantee you'll get the puck. And so I started playing defense, and I was giving them the puck. And the guys say, hey, it's fun playing with you. We get the puck all the time. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll give you the puck. And then we go play in Florida in the tournament. There's always a garage league or old timers league or whatever tournaments. The guys are from 35 to whatever age. And so I'm about 42, 43, I guess. And we're going to play a game against an American team. So I'm playing defense because when I started playing defense, then I always played defense everywhere from then on. Well, we're playing a game, and I look at the guy at the center, a big guy and everything. I go, geez, that guy looks familiar. So I skate up to him. I go, Denny. It was Denny Potvin. I said, wow. I swear to God, Denny, what are you doing playing center? He said, what are you doing playing defense? True story. I said, can't believe I meet you here.
That's great.
But he was working with the Panthers back then, so he was there all the time, doing the TV or radio or whatever. Yeah. So funny story. I looked at him and went, I know this guy.
That's incredible, though. That's a good switch off there for the two of you.
Yeah.
Well, Andre, do you have anything going on these days that you'd like to tell us about? Is there any or you're just living the retired life and loving it?
Right now, yeah. Like I told you before, I did charity work for 20 years for handicapped people, and got through that. I stopped about 10 years ago when they had a whole board of directors and everybody was changing and everything, and I had to organize quite a few things. And after 20 years, I said, okay, well, we'll let somebody else do it. Before me was Pierre Mondoux, who played with the Canadiens.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so I stopped that. But now I just, I own some real estate that I bought with my brothers, and we're landlords. Like Mr. Farley, Mr. Farley? So we have some apartment buildings that I take care of, and play golf all summer, but I don't skate anymore. I had 2 hip replacements. And one time I was skating, I just fell down on my own. I went, before I get injured a little too much, I'll take a break.
Before you need another one.
I'll just play golf.
Well, I hear you. Well, listen, we just want to thank you again for coming on. We've been looking forward to this one. I know we've been talking back and forth for a while, and we finally were able to get the timing right and have you here. And Ray and I just big fans, obviously. We remember you fondly. We were there when you were here, and it's great to have you on. And it was great meeting you when I did, but it's even better here. This is great. And we'd like to tell you that anytime you're on the island, let us know, because we'd love to get a hold of you and spend some time with you as well.
Yeah, I enjoy coming up for Joey's tournament every year because I get to see the guys, and Joey and his family. They're wonderful, and they really get the guys together, and we have some fun. So it's quite enjoyable, and with the alumni also. And that's the place in my heart is Long Island, where that's my team. That's where I played the longest, and that's where home for me as a hockey player was, and that's it.
That's great to hear
good
because
to-
you're in
that's
everybody's
great to
hearts
hear,
here too that knew you.
No,
And
thank you.
again, God bless and Godspeed. And we hope to see you again somewhere down the road, my friend.
Well, maybe we shall. Joey's tournament's always in Hauppauge. I don't remember the name of the course there. Anyways.
Yeah,
And
Ray's
so-
not far from there.
Yeah, it's about 5 minutes from me. So yeah,
Yeah, right next to the hotel there, or the big hotel there.
yeah, the Wind Watch.
There you
Yeah.
go, the Windwash. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, so we go there every year. And it's nice. It's nice. You get, like I said, you get to see the guys that you were friends with a long time ago, and you haven't seen in a long time. So they're precious moments.
For sure.
Yeah.
You pick up where you left off and you just
Yeah.
feel young for a day,
Yeah,
right?
It's like it was yesterday. You know?
Yeah.
Right. Like it never left. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Andre,
you guys
thanks so
very
much. It was an honor having you on. Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you. It was a pleasure being on, and good luck to you guys. And maybe we'll see you on Long Island.
Sounds
Thanks a lot.
good.
And take
All
care.
right, take care, guys.
All
God
right,
bless.
bye.